Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Give us a second. There we go. Technical challenges. I thought I'd make an entrance, put some sunglasses on today. Alessandro, always good to see you, sir.
Great to see.
Looking so smooth with the new short haircut.
Oh yeah. Well, it took me ages to get to the hairdresser. Yeah.
This is the same Alessandro as the one on the previous episodes, by the way. Um, just a younger looking version.
Thank
So this afternoon, everybody, we are excited to share another. This is the seventh in the eight episode series that we have been doing, and this mini series has covered everything from how can I start my day energized and positive, how can I clear aches and pains, how to avoid overwhelm. What else was there? How can I feel more grounded and present? How can I have more mental clarity? I mean, these are all just like such important subjects that we can't do without. The last one, how can I improve my sleep? And I promise you, I've had some really good night's sleep since putting some of these little exercises in place. And if you don't know what this one is, you need to go and learn about this one. That's on our last episode. So today we've got how can I help improve my digestion, which was quite an interesting one for me because I have a load of questions around this one. And then our last episode, which is going to be how can I release stress quickly and effectively. Now, I think everybody wants to know about that one, so make sure that you keep your eyes peeled and check out Alessandro's profile as well as mine. Make sure that you reach out and connect so that we can invite you to the episodes or find those links on our profiles. Alessandro, talk to us. How has your week been so far, sir?
Actually, it's been great. Yeah, it was today, Friday. I mean, time is just flying at the moment, but yeah, it's been very good. I've been having a few online clients for Qigong, and it's great to help people. And interestingly, two of them have issues around food and digestion. So it's a really big topic, and I'm really excited to kind of talk around that topic. But going back to what you said earlier, because we're all energy beings, all these aspects, sleep, stress, emotions, it's all an imbalance of energy. So Qigong is just a way to bring balance back to whatever is out of balance. So often people say to me, can Qigong help this and that? And I think actually, I believe it can help everything, because when we have an imbalance, how about if we can bring our body back into balance? Because the body has an incredible capacity, but it needs the support and to be plugged in to this universal source. And that's what we're doing in Qigong. We're just tuning in, plugging in like a mobile phone, recharging, rebalancing, but it does take time, skill, and this is a 4,000-year-old practice. It's not something new.
And I love that emphasis on the fact that it's 4,000 years old. It's not something that has kind of been ripped out of during pandemic. We've kind of come up with something new here and gone, hey, by the way. And I find the whole energy thing fascinating because we've all at some point seen these what do they call them? They're almost like X-rays of the body, and it shows your heat signatures and where the energy in the body is stored. And where it's being expended, and you've got the different colors as an example. How can people find out more about this energy side of things and how this all works? Where can they go and research? Where can they go and find more information?
There's a lot of articles online about Qigong. If people are interested in a specific issue, for example, arthritis, they could look up Qigong and arthritis, and there will be articles around research that's been done. Could Qigong help arthritis? How did it help? Who did it help? And these are all, that's why I'm very careful not to make claims myself, but there's a lot out there. And even people who haven't heard of Qigong, if you just put it into Google, Qigong, I mean, last time I looked, I can't remember if there were 50 million entries. So even though it's not that well known, it's been around for that long. And I think the reason it disappeared was during the Cultural Revolution in China. Mao Zedong was, persecuting monks and religion. and practitioners of these energy sort of practices. So it disappeared, had to go underground, and now it's coming back because in daily life we seem to have a lot of issues that actually Western medicine can't always resolve. So Qigong, a lot of people come to Qigong often as a last resort, or it just gives them hope. It gives everybody hope. So food is energy. That's another aspect. I'm not saying Qigong is I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a kind of recommending people do certain things, but it'll be fascinating to talk around the energy of food and the stomach and all that stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, having they were young. They're growing up too fast now with my children. But seeing these little science experiments where they on television where they show you, you can light up a light bulb by plugging it into a potato or into a different fruit type. Clearly energy is coming from literally anything and everything around us. It's just how do we harness that so that we're using it for the right in the right ways to be able to get the best out of it. So I'm quite interested in this whole how do you improve your digestion? Where does that even start? Like, does that start with the types of food you're taking in because they have different energy levels? Is it where is the point of that you would suggest we start at?
Let's start at the very beginning. Very good place.
I believe it is.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things, by the way, I put a link into the chat. I don't know if everybody can see it, but that's a link to the Qigong digestion to speed up and improve it. It's the whole video, which is free to watch on YouTube because we may not have time to cover the whole thing. So if people click on that, they can have a look, do it after lunch, dinner, and notice the effects of the Qigong. You just follow it, you get the results. And it's my most watched video on YouTube. So that's the link there. But let's start with the stomach is an internal organ like all the others. And in Chinese medicine, there's a chart whereby each internal organ has 2 hours in the day, and people can look this up, when it's most active. So for example, the stomach's most active 7 to 9 a.m. in the morning. That would indicate that if we have a good, healthy breakfast, that's why often people talk about breakfast like a king, whatever, and lunch like a pauper, or whatever the expression is. But if we have a very healthy breakfast at that time, we can digest virtually anything. As we go through the day, the digestion or stomach becomes weaker and weaker. So actually evenings is probably the worst time to eat. And many people, if you go to, say, I've been to many Buddhist, temples in China and here and there, they eat breakfast, lunch, never have dinner, never an evening meal. Not because they're poor or they can't afford it or anything. It's because the stomach at that time is really struggling to digest and actually assimilate the food much more than in the day. So that's why people tend to maybe either put on weight or this or that, because the evening meal is the most challenging of the meals, because the stomach is at its weakest. So me being Italian, I find it quite hard in Italy, to be there in summer, and sometimes at 10 p.m. they go, let's go out for dinner. It's like, what? But how the body can adapt. So of course, I'm not saying, in Italy and Spain, people should not have dinner. I'm just saying, from a Chinese medicine point of view, the stomach isn't as efficient in the evenings. So if it's efficient in the mornings, what can we do to start the day? One thing I wanted to mention is this alkaline acid balance, and people can read about this as well. Again, I'm not, recommending things. I'm just suggesting what I've noticed. So acid creates, stress creates acidity, and many foods are acid foods. And alkaline foods generally tend to be vegetables. And surprisingly, the two most amazing, I think, are the lemon and grapefruit are alkaline when in the stomach, but acid outside. So when you have a lemon, it tastes acidic. The minute you ingest it, it's alkaline. So the good way to start the day is just warm water with a lemon squeezed in, or some grapefruit, just eat it. It's alkaline, and the body loves alkalinity. And Nobel prize winner in 1931, Otto Warburg. He was a German. People can look him up. He actually won the Nobel Prize for proving or showing that cancer cells can't survive in an alkaline environment, which is fascinating research. Now, the body probably can never be 100% alkaline, and it's not suggested that we're 100%. But what I'm trying to say is if it's too acidic, that doesn't help the immunity and the body. So ideally, that we head towards alkalinity, which probably 70% of food, more vegetables and less acidic food, which is things like meat and even oranges. People think vitamin C, great, but the amount of sugar and acid in oranges is not that good. So people can also read about that. So that's kind of a little bit about, starting the day with, water and, something maybe alkaline, and definitely a good healthy breakfast. Then the stomach can get to work. The other thing to say is, am I right to talk, or you've got
no, absolutely. I've got loads of questions, but
okay,
you're answering them as you go along as well.
One more thing, which I think is really important. People tend to think that, we get energy from food, which we do to an extent, but we also get energy from breathing and from hydration and from the atmosphere, the universe around us. Nature is kept alive by what we call the qi, or this vital energy. And so a really interesting example is in China, they have Qigong hospitals, and people can read about these. People tend to go there when they're terminally ill because they're just sent home to die. Now they go to these Qigong hospitals, and for the first 2-3 weeks, they practice Qigong. So they're getting energy from the practice, but they're not allowed any food for about 2-3 weeks, and they're terminally ill. And they have something like 80-85% success rate in these hospitals. Now, in the West, we'd find that hard to fathom, but it makes sense. The food feeds the cancer. So the cancer can gradually, die off or shrivel or shrink. But actually, energetically, the people are doing a practice. They're getting energy, and they can drink, obviously, they can drink fluids, but no food. So actually, food is not the only source of energy. And in fact, I would even say that a lot of the food we eat these days, because it's either processed or, very poor, even wheat has been engineered, hasn't it? So that's why so many people have wheat allergies. It's not natural the way it was 50 years ago. It's kind of engineered to be stronger, more resistant. The body can't easily digest it, so we get allergic to it. What I'm trying to say is it's becoming harder to digest the food that we eat fully, efficiently, easily. And so often the energy it takes to digest a big meal, let's say, a big typical Western meal, the energy it takes to digest it is more than the energy you get from the food. What does that mean? That doesn't mean you don't eat at all. It means probably that if we all ate about 20-30% less, we would have more energy, we'd be healthier. And these are not claims again, but chances are we'd live longer. We eat, the quantity we eat, the body has trouble digesting it all. And by the time we're nearly digested, we've had the next meal. By the time we've nearly digested, we've never truly fully digested. And if we could fully digest, that means we can transform into energy. But often the energy is sluggish or lacking. And that's why we need coffee and energy drinks, because we think, oh, I need that now to give me energy. But actually, if we probably ate less, we would digest more efficiently. And I've tried that. And actually, I've been on Qigong retreats where, people with very serious health issues haven't eaten for weeks, and they've never felt healthier. They have been practicing Qigong. I'm not recommending to anyone, don't eat for weeks. But if you're doing a practice, then, test that out, because the body can repair and recover. The body is miraculous, but it does need that support.
It's interesting because, I don't know where along the way over time, there's so many weird and wonderful practices that have come in with regards to how we do things when it comes to food. And, and these things impact, as an example, our effectiveness at work, our alertness, our productivity, all these things. And, when you kind of talk about it, a lot of it sounds logical, but it also sounds ludicrous as to some of the things that we do. I remember growing up, and my grandmother, she lived on a farm, and when she made lunch for the family, it was like almost like you'd expect, like at least 20 people are going to rock up for lunch, because there was just so much food. And I was like, well, wow, who's coming? And it was like, no, it's just the fact. I'm like, what? And there'll be little bits of all kinds of things, and she'd make incredible food, but and she'd say things like, okay, you can't leave until your plate is clear. And I'm like, oh. And then when you get overly excited and they say your eyes are too big for your stomach, and you dish up something of everything, you very quickly learn you've got to dish up a lot less of everything because otherwise you can't leave the table. But there's an Afrikaans saying, which is "Maag is vol, oog is toe," which basically means once your stomach is full, your eyes close, because you just go into that food coma. So, and this has become almost kind of a normal thing throughout the world, where people just, over-consume. And when you think about it, somebody posted yesterday, Jane posted about cake as an example, one of the nutritionists that I know, and she's very active on LinkedIn. And I thought, we wouldn't go to our car as an example and go, oh, that ice cream looks nice, and then chuck it down the petrol tank just because it looks good. But we do that with our bodies, and it's just pure sugar and carbs and all these things, but it's not really fuel. Like the percentage that we take away from that ice cream that's good for us is like negligible. So, the fact that we do this to ourselves willingly is quite an interesting thought.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. But if anyone wants to put comments in or has questions, because I know some of the people who are interested are either coaches or work with nutrition, and I'd love to know, their comments and their observations on what they've noticed. But one thing for sure is, when we eat, we tend to eat, apart from the quantity, we tend to eat very quickly. And I remember one Qigong master once coming out with this beautiful expression. He said, "The stomach has no teeth." And it's like, yeah, we know that. What does that mean? And what he means is often, not in the UK, let's say, but in Italy, France, Spain, you sit to eat, you take time. It's a kind of enjoyment.
You enjoy the food, you take it in.
Over here, it's like, let me just eat to fill my stomach and get going. I've got to work. Let me eat at work, or let me eat on the tube, and in 2 minutes I can wolf this down. What happens is, when we don't chew enough and there's not enough saliva, for example, now we're talking about energy and Qigong, like saliva is energy as well, and it comes down to the stomach, and it tells the stomach, by the way, there's some meat coming down in a minute, prepare for that. But actually what happens is, we don't chew properly, it gets into the stomach, and suddenly the stomach's saying, God, I don't know what to do with this. And before it's thought about it, something else has come down. Suddenly the stomach's full, it's sluggish, it puts pressure on the heart, which is what digestion does. So it's extra pressure as a result of not either chewing or taking time or being mindful. Because maybe you've noticed this with your kids. I certainly noticed it with my daughter. Sometimes she'd be in her room watching TV or on a computer, and she said, I'm really hungry. So I'd give her a plate of pasta. And she'd eat it watching TV, and then she'd go, I'm starving. And I said, but you just had a plate of pasta. But she didn't even notice, because her intention or mind was on the TV. So that mindful or being present to the food and taking time to chew it, then we can transform it into energy more efficiently. So that's an important part of it. And also a lot of the food now, because it's depleted in minerals. I mean, somebody said to me, a nutritionist said the other day, like an orange, 10 years ago, if you had an orange, you would need to eat 10 oranges nowadays for the same amount of vitamin C and everything. It's like, but you can't eat 10 oranges. And so if you're eating one orange nowadays, it's a tenth of what you used to get. So even though we're eating quantity, the quality has greatly changed. And I would say it's probably worth eating less and better quality, and then that can transform into energy more efficiently than eating massive amounts thinking I need this energy, you know.
It's really interesting when you put it that way, because I know I've had lots of discussions with people around the whole, you know, subject of nutrition and food, and so many people, you know, especially I would say people that are, you know, 40 plus, will have this mindset of, you know, I don't know, a lot of this stuff must be in your head because we never had all these ailments, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago. But, you know, some of the simple facts that you've mentioned, with the fact that, you know, our food has been re-engineered over the last 10, 15 years to be able to produce larger quantities, to be able to last longer, and to fight certain you know, bugs and bacteria and all the rest of it in the food chain, supply chain process, that, you know, we didn't have these ailments 10, 15 years ago because the food wasn't designed and produced in the way it is today. And therefore, a lot of these allergies are not necessarily, as an example, to the wheat, but the way the wheat is now produced. So that same wheat 15, 20 years ago would have been tolerable, but now today, because of some of those chemicals and the process that has gone through and the additional bleaching and everything else, you know, those are the things that have impacted change. So that's quite interesting to just have perspective on why that is. And ultimately, we're engineering all these illnesses and sicknesses as well, because we're creating them through all these new ways of doing things.
And engineering the food. I mean, for example, a lot of these seedless things, seedless lemons, seedless grapes, that is not natural. They do have seeds. Or in Japan, they have, you know, watermelons that are square, so they fit into the fridge. I mean, you know, are you serious? Engineering things, you know, to that extent, clearly the food won't have the same vitality. And in Qigong terms, or Qi, or energy, or Chinese medicine, you know, every food has, you know, a yin, a yang element, you know, that it's a balance. So some foods are more, you know, maybe in the West we talk about alkaline, acidic, but actually we need a balance of those foods for the body. And depending on our condition, actually, we also, certain foods suit us more than others. It's not that everybody can eat everything anyway. And when you tune into your body and energy, often you can really, you can get a sense of what suits you and doesn't. I think often we've all done this, where we think, I'll have a biscuit, and then but you know, by the time we finished watching the Netflix program, we finished the packet, and we kind of know that's not really going to do us that much good. Might not do us that much bad at that time, but if we really tuned in, and a lot of foods nowadays, from what I've heard, have some kind of addictive element in them, whereby in the old days, if you gave a child some biscuits to eat, after 4 or 5, they'd stop eating. And some of these biscuits nowadays, I'm not going to mention brands, but you know, I think some of us know which brands these are. Kids cannot stop eating them. There's something addictive in the foods that actually make people, and often it's something, you know, slightly sickly. For example, yeah, let's talk about Pringles. Okay, you have one Pringle, and it's like, oh, that's tasty. I don't know what it's got, but it's got some kind of powder on it. But by the time you've had 10, you feel a bit, you know, you don't feel that good.
Once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah, but exactly, you can't stop, but it's not that nice either. So there's something around, you know, what they add to these things that it's quite addictive and not good for us. But if you really tune into your body, and that takes some practice, you maybe will tune into what foods suit you. I mean, just as an example, you know, steam some broccoli, 2-3 minutes, steam it, you know, put some olive oil, balsamic, eat it. That is kind of quite a living food. It's alkaline, it's fresh-ish. You know, a pork chop, it's been in the supermarket how many days, the animal's been dead how many days, you cook it, I mean, what kind of energy could be contained in that? We might enjoy it and the taste and this and that, but energetically, it's completely obviously dead compared to a broccoli that's steamed and came from someone's garden or a farm not so long ago. So I think that's just something to think about.
So talk to me about doing the Qigong exercises, or what kind of exercises, as an example, would be done to be able to enhance the digestion system,
yes.
as an example. But like, when would you do these? Like, would you do exercises before you eat? Would you do it after you eat? Would you first thing in the morning, last at night? Like, what's
normally it's after eating, and since we're doing this now in the afternoon, most people probably have eaten, so we can have a short little demonstration. I'm going to stand. You can stay sitting if you like, but if people are watching this on replay or something, they'll get a sense of what it feels like after we've eaten. So most of us, and if we're not watching this, after a meal, probably we still have food in our tummy, and we'll notice the energy around this area. So what happens is, after we've eaten, obviously the stomach is on the left, just below the heart area. A lot of people, strangely, they say, I've got my tummy's hurting, and they put their hands on their gut or intestine. It's like, that's nowhere near the tummy. So even when people have issues, they go, oh, my stomach's hurting. No, stomach is right here on the left, below the heart. So after we've eaten, it puts some pressure on the heart. The blood flow goes there. So we want to get rid of that pressure a bit. So let's just do a couple of minutes of practice to get a sense of this energy from the food that's actually, we call it a cloudy zone, that's hanging around and takes a while to clear. So digestion often takes maybe 2-3 hours typically. So if we just close the hands and put them on the stomach, and the other side, close the fingers. But if we open the fingers and just sense how close they can come to the body, we call this the cloudy zone. If the hands can touch the body, that means, our digestion is quite efficient. We've digested the meal probably, but chances are, if we've had a meal now, fingers are open and hands are open, just sense this, we call it a cloudy zone. It's like the hands can't really approach the stomach that closely. So this is what happens after a meal generally. And if we've had a big meal, it might be further out like this, quite normal. The energy field, like it takes a while to clear this cloudy zone. So let's just do it one more time. Close the fingers, touch, easy to touch the stomach. If you open the fingers a bit more sensitively, just feel how close you can get to the stomach. Can you approach it? Chances are you probably can't get too close. So this is what we call the cloudy zone. Now, the way to clear it is close the fingers, you go into it. Open, you're clearing it. Close, open. So this is a very quick, simple way to go into this area and clear the, if you like, the stress or tension or sluggishness, because it takes, as I say, 2 or 3 hours. This way, we're speeding it up and going into this. As I said, there's the YouTube video. People can do the whole thing on there. But when you close open, you're going in and clearing this cloudy zone. So this is one way to do it. And another way, and because if we're at work, we don't want to look a bit weird like this, is we can put the index, middle finger, ring finger together and just stretch the root of the middle and ring finger. This relates to the abdomen. Often after eating, or generally, this is a bit squashed, this area. So when we do this, we're opening up this area. So this can help. So if you're sitting with other people, you could gently just be stretching. The tendons here should feel slightly, just a little bit painful, which is okay. Do the other one. Stretching, opening. And this is helping to open this whole area. So this is a more subtle way of helping the digestion. And then rub the root of these fingers together quite vigorously. So as if you're just warming up the hands, but the root of the middle and ring finger. And you're rubbing this, means you're rubbing this area. It's like you're massaging the abdomen. So these are just simple Qigong techniques, aren't in any books. So, you do this, you get the effect, hopefully, and you'll notice it. And then hands go in the opposite direction and shake off. Opposite direction, shake off. If you do this 2-3 minutes, this one, go in, close the fingers, open. This one, opposite direction, clean off. After a few minutes, open the hands. You should be able to get closer. I can already get much closer to my stomach. I had lunch before coming on, so I could feel that cloudy zone. So just a few minutes, you're already sensing this cloudy zone reduced, which means that you've begun to transform the food into liquid. Transform into liquid means the liquid into energy. So it goes down to the gut, intestine. And here, final one we'll do now, but again, the whole version is on YouTube. Back of the hands to the intestine, as if you're going behind it. Close the fingers, open. So again, we absorb the food here. Sometimes we can be eating very healthy food. If we're not absorbing it well, then it's wasted. It's just going to come out of the body. So one thing is to digest it. One thing is to absorb it, transform it into energy. So quite precise. Back of the hands, fingers, open, close, open. So when we do these exercises, especially if we're working in an office or working from home, definitely you can avoid quite a lot of sluggishness or tiredness after meals, which happens normally because that's where the blood flow is going. It's going towards the heart, the stomach, and we feel exhausted. We want to rest a bit. So this is a good way of transforming it more efficiently, let's call it, and more quickly. And also you're clearing any stagnation, because sometimes we might have food doesn't agree with us. So this actually helps to clear also and neutralize anything that maybe doesn't fully agree, or to clear it out.
So I'm assuming this doesn't give us an excuse to overindulge just so that we can go and do this exercise to get rid of all the energy after.
You know what happens when you really tuned in well to the body? I really think people will take care of their body more. They're more aware. If we're aware of our energy, why would we overeat? If the food is good and it's tasty, of course. But actually, I can't remember, in many cultures, they often say, even in Indian culture, it's like eat and just eat about 20% less than when you're full. So you really kind of appreciate it. But once you get really full, you don't feel as comfortable. And we've all done that. But I would say definitely most of the time, eat as much as is enough. And when you're tuned into your body will tell you that's enough for now, because there are other meals coming up, but we don't have to have, sometimes I look at people with these big meals and I just know it's going to take so much energy to digest that. They're never going to get that energy out of the food. So they'll be tired. They'll need something else to wake up, or another meal. And it's all a vicious circle, really, that we're just going through. Oh, I need more food to give me more energy. Actually, no, try less food and see if you have more energy. And definitely that's try it out. I'd love people to comment and try it. So just finish off here. You're going into the intestine, clearing, and then notice if you get closer. Should definitely feel closer. So I'd love to get people's comments if they try this out. Just in 5 to 10 minutes, you can definitely transform a lot of the food into energy, and that can be used more efficiently in the body.
Excellent stuff. So if you've got any questions or any comments for Alessandro, or wondering about how you can go about using this practice, please put it into the comments. Share your thoughts. Let us know what your thoughts are. Any previous experience with Qigong, that would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. But ultimately, just let us know where you're watching from as well. I highly recommend that you reach out to Alessandro, and also just go and check out his YouTube channel. We've shared the link both on LinkedIn there, and on YouTube, and on Facebook, so you can go and watch his video, and give you a little bit more insight and ideas on how you can harness that energy and help have better digestion as well, and get some of that excess energy, or the negative energy that comes from certain foods that we eat, and get that out of your body as well. So Alessandro, what other important things do people need to kind of think about when it comes to the whole energy around digestion side of things?
Yeah, I would say maybe the habits around the timings of meals and this and that, because I know a lot of people, I mean, I used to work in corporate. I remember people never had breakfast, right? But about mid-morning, 10:30, they were starving, and they'd send someone out to get them a bacon butty, or bacon sandwich with chips in,
or coffee with a big muffin.
Yeah, that was mid-morning. Then they'd have lunch, have the biggest meal, dinner in the evening. I think it's just getting into a slightly different habit of have a breakfast. Just wake up a bit earlier if you're in a rush, but have breakfast. And if you're going to have a bit bigger meal or healthier meal, I'd say lunch if you can. But if it is dinner, definitely have it early or earlier, like 6 or 7. Do some digestion Qigong, and you can do that even while watching TV. It's not a meditation. It's just a very efficient, simple way to do it. So more awareness of what we eat, quantity. Try and eat less and see if you have more energy, and then the timings as well, and also just tuning into the body, because often the body really tells us what I mean, all these supermarkets have 3 for 2, 1 for 3, 5 for 6. I mean, come on, we don't have to buy the crap, really. I mean, the whole thing is set up to buy the rubbish, and then we think, oh God, I've got to eat that now. How about buying less and better quality, and also more energetic foods? For example, protein is good food. Rubbed my fingers together. I felt some warmth from within and belched. Is it okay? Of course. Yeah, Janice, definitely. But look, belching, what a beautiful British word. Okay. Often you will get wind from different areas. That's normal, but that's part of speeding up the digestion, because we're transforming the food. So obviously, if you're in an office environment with other people, just take it easy. But if you're home, but as the digestion becomes more efficient, you'll notice that it won't be so noisy. But I know before I did Qigong, I never heard my stomach for 35 years. Once I started Qigong, suddenly it was like a water factory here. Everything was moving, shifting. That's good news. It means the body things are happening. But often the body, the head, we live up here, body, not sure what's going on. Even when we eat, not really connected to what we're eating, how we're eating. So good sign is what you said. Belching is a good sign. And if you never belched and suddenly you belch, that's a really good sign. That means something's awakening and you're transforming something quickly. So thanks for that feedback. And my mum always just used to think I was really rude after meals, because I just do some subtle Qigong in front of her, and then there might be sound. She said, "You are so rude." And I said, I can't help it. It's just digestion, It's not, I can't stop it happening. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting, because they say you've got to get these things out of your system, because ultimately that bubble can kill you. So where's it going to go? Yeah, absolutely. And it's
thing we talked about, 7 to 9 a.m. is the stomach's strongest time in the morning from Chinese medicine, and 5 to 7 is the large intestine, which is very interesting. Large intestine is the colon. It's where we eliminate food. So actually it's so interesting. 5 to 7 a.m. is the best time to go to the loo in the morning. But most people are either asleep at that time or whatever's going on. So I've noticed, when I wake up, I tend to wake up around 7 or earlier. But the first thing I do is I have warm water with lemon, or just have water, and that helps immediately to kind of start flushing the system out. And at night, the brain is also shrinking, and it needs hydration immediately when you wake up. So drinking water is good for the brain, but also good for the colon, and then chances are you'll go in the morning, which is very healthy, because that's the busiest, the healthiest time for the colon. If you go later, that's okay, but if you're not going till sort of midday, something out of balance. So all these things, from the Chinese medicine point of view, it's so fascinating how the body has a clock. The body has a clock. If we respect the clock, the clock respects us, and we can hopefully live longer, healthier lives.
And I find, it's quite interesting when you put it into that perspective, that the body, in each one of our organs, as an example, has a different clock that, in a different time that is most effective. And it's amazing the abuse that we put our body through because we don't take the time to get to understand how it functions at an optimal level. So, just a little thing like not going to the loo until midday, as an example, is you strangling your colon and saying, no, you'll go when I say so. And ultimately, that has a knock-on effect on other parts of your body. And, and the same, like you spoke about sleep and all these important things. But if we just do it as we feel like, and we torture our body with putting the wrong things in it and not getting sleep at the right time, not hydrating, and not shifting this energy, then ultimately, we can't really expect the fine-tuned machine that we imagine our bodies to be sometimes.
Well, yeah, one more thing to mention I forgot, which is really important, and that is, cold or hot foods or drinks. So if we have, say, a cold drink with ice, and Americans have loads of cold drink, even their fridge creates ice, doesn't it? Now, cold drink with ice goes into the stomach. Think of what the stomach has to do. It has to warm that up, transform it. That's really hard work for the stomach. So if we can avoid ice, cold drinks, and even raw food is okay. But if we only have raw food, think about that as well. The stomach has to work more to digest that food. I mean, I do know people who swear by just raw food diet. All right, try it out. But really, if you slightly steam it or slightly cook it, the stomach works less. We want to put less strain on the stomach. And because so many foods and things are processed these days, the stomach is working so much harder than it used to. So I'd say, if you can, cut out the ice and cut out, fizzy drinks. Now, again, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not telling people what to do. Fizzy drinks are acidic. Ice freezes the stomach a bit. Ideally cooked food, and even hot countries like India, Thailand, I've noticed people drink warm tea or warm drinks. They're not drinking jumbo ice drinks like they do in some countries. I mean, come on. And if I think back to university, God, we used to have 8 pints of beer in one night. After that, food from the fish and chip van. If I think of my stomach, what I know about physiology, stomach is about that big. How on earth does all that fit in? What is it doing to my body? And it's the body is a miracle, but let's not abuse it. Let's, if we respect it, how about living longer, more healthily?
And, I find this interesting because that, what you mentioned now about the hot and cold wasn't really something I was aware of until, at the age of 35, I ended up having a heart attack. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, okay, how do I look after myself? And it's weird, we all wait for a life-changing event before we start paying attention to the things we should. And I saw this like 30-second, 60-second video about the heart attack bomb. And I was like, what the heck? And they said the perfect formula is a burger and a soda is the perfect heart attack formula. And I was like, what do you mean? And basically what it said is you go in, you eat this warm food that's got all these fats in it, and they aren't natural fats, a lot of them. And if you could imagine pouring that fat down a straw, and then you take that cold drink and you drink it, and what happens is that fat immediately gets stuck in the straw. So you're filling that straw, and that's what's happening to your arteries and your heart. So when you have that burger and then you have that cold drink, all you're doing is basically stuffing fat into a straw, and eventually there's no way for the blood to flow, and that's where it clots and boom, and that's the ultimate heart attack. And I was like, every fast food restaurant in the world has the heart attack formula. Like, what? And it's crazy when you think about it.
And it's addictive. It's addictive. So it's cheap, isn't it? So people will say, "Oh, I can't afford anything. I'm in a hurry." They know exactly what's what, But I'd say, look, we all do have a choice. So maybe if people are going to eat the burger, from what you've just said, don't have that big, tall, cold drink, even if it's free or 99p. Just have the burger. And I really think big iced drinks, come on, it just makes sense. Just don't. And I'd say even big iced coffees like that, forget it. Just, the body will do stuff for us. But one day the body will say, listen, you've been abusing me.
Yeah. And this is where, unfortunately, depending on the type of personality you are as well, because we find that people that are mentally strong tend to almost ignore a lot of the signals the body will send them. So they'll just charge on and work crazy hours and torture their body with their eating habits, and only eat when they remember, or when there's a meeting, or then they, and it's all convenient stuff. And it's so easy to be able to, and unfortunately, when those individuals have a wake-up call, most people don't survive that because they've been doing it for too long, or been damaging their body for too long. So, by listening to our bodies and doing some of these practices that Alessandro has shared with us, you have an opportunity to have a long, healthy life. So, take that and do us a favor, go and connect with Alessandro on LinkedIn and all the other platforms that he's on. But make sure that you reach out, go and ask questions, find out about some of the work that he's doing, because some of the things that he's doing with regards to corporates, as well as some of the group stuff that you're doing with your retreat coming up in Sardinia, that's a huge opportunity to really invest in yourself, and who knows, maybe even save your life.
Take control of our health, because we've given our health away to the doctors, to the NHS. And I really think it doesn't have to be Qigong, but any practice where we take time to be mindful of the body. Nothing actually happens, suddenly. It may hit us suddenly, but it's been warning us. When we tune into the body definitely tells us, oh, there's some tightness here. Oh, what can I do? Let me just do some practice. There's my lower back is hurting. I'm not just going to have a whiskey and ignore it. Tune into the body, tune into yourself, because you deserve it. You're your biggest kind of fan, and honor your body, honor your health and your life, and tune in. And I'm offering some free Qigong sessions. If people are interested, they can just connect with me, and I'll send them a link on that. So
awesome stuff. Well, Alessandro, thank you as always for your incredible wisdom, some great tips and advice on how we can go and improve our digestion and ultimately our energy levels. Everything sounds so logical. I just wish we could all apply that logic, without getting distracted by that, big ice cream or that burger and the big ice drinks and and all of that.
Society, sorry to say, society is set up to what's a big poster, then we go and watch the TV, and then we see something written on the tube. And, when you see things 3-4 times, you want it. It's just the way things are set up. But we do have a choice, and, eat well, be kind to yourself, and have a look at the YouTube, because that's the longer. It's only 10 minutes, the digestion, but I'd love to, people to have a look and empower themselves to tune in to the food they're eating, and become more efficient and have more energy by eating less would be amazing, wouldn't it? If we all had more energy and ate less, actually that would solve a lot of problems in the world as well.
Sure, just imagine. Just taking a few minutes out today to educate people, and I'm glad that I've had this opportunity to do this mini series with you, where it's enlightened and taught me a heck of a lot, and I know a lot of people out there as well. So we have another episode, but I have a feeling that Alessandro is becoming so much more active on LinkedIn. He's doing some incredible sharing, some great knowledge. So please just go and check out his profile and see what he's up to.
You're a LinkedIn genius, and I've learned so much. And I love, if people are watching this, LinkedIn is such an amazing platform to actually add value to people, not just to sell what we're doing, not just to comment and like things. It's really an amazing platform for information and sharing, and I'm just learning so much. There's so much that we can kind of contribute to each other. So thank you, Matt.
Absolutely, only a pleasure. And I look forward to our next episode on how can I release stress quickly and effectively. I mean, who does not need that? Alessandro?
Yes, please.
I'll introduce you to the speaker afterwards, Alessandro. I'm really looking forward to that episode, and thank you so much for all the time spent to be able to educate and teach. So with that, go and have an incredible weekend, and I look forward to speaking to all of you again soon.
We'll reply. I encourage people to comment if they're watching on replay. I'll reply to everything, of course. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. Well, listen, everybody, have an incredible day, and we shall see you all soon.
Take care. Thank you.